Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. I still have to work on the levels with everything so it gets back to where I like it, and volume and the headphones. Okay, I've been doing some additional work with, not related to the show, but using the headphones and playback on something to try to edit a piece, and, well, it has screwed with everything. I needed to turn the volume way up in order to hear what was being said in a lousy recording. But this is a great recording. And the sound level is 5x5, according to Justice, so that's good news. We'll see what's most important, what's at the top of the heap today. Most important for you as listeners to the show, this is getting to, I think we're on my third attempt, right? Third attempt to get my washing machine installed here. I mean, the very important new durable appliances here at Kagro in the Morning World Headquarters. We figured it was time to replace this one, and we ought to do it before all durable appliances disappeared from the market, maybe, which might happen at some point soon. You never know. That's economic news. But, of course, I struggled mightily to get this thing done in a way that would not interrupt our time together. That was supposed to happen originally on Saturday, last Saturday. It didn't for various reasons. There needed to be plumbing work done. We got the plumbing work done in between shows as well. We got it lined up again, and then that didn't work out because the timing was no good. And this time I'm just going to have to say, all right. But they are big fans of Greg Dworkin over at the delivery place or the vendor. So they have agreed to come after 10 o'clock. I asked them to come after 11, but they decided to go with 10. And I guess we'll take it at this point. And what will happen at that point? Hey, I don't know. I didn't really want to, cancel things here. One, because Greg needs to come on and tell you what's going on. Two, you need to know what's going on. And three, they may come after the show. And I didn't really want to, ruin the whole thing and just end up canceling and then sitting here and waiting. Nothing more infuriating than that. So that's the big news from where I sit. However, there is other news out there. Greg has been gathering it and has it all ready to go. We'll have to select a random. I need a random number generator to tell me which fanfare to play here. And I think this is now this page keeps track of which ones we've. No, I guess not. Maybe if you've played it a couple times, it sort of checks it off here. We had a nice one last time, and we'll scroll down a little further for something new and interesting. How about this one, Greg? Victory fanfare. That's a fanfare. Let's play it. Let's play it out loud. Come on, victory fanfare. There we are. Well, victory, I've played it.
Okay, that's all right.
There's.
I liked Mondays, but this was okay.
Yeah, that one's nearby. And there's a couple of ta-da variants out there if you like just the ta-da sound, but you liked ta-da cute voice, I believe. Ta-da! Ta-da! There it is. Simple, easy, and all right. We're ready to go.
That's a great one, because the one you played first, sounds like I just got hit on the head with a fairy's magic wand,
Oh, yes. Well, there's various things you can imagine for this. Oh, I must, and I've been handed breaking news.
Oh?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's broken now. Gerry Connolly broke. He has died of his lost his battle with esophageal cancer.
Esophageal cancer, that's bad.
Yes, even if you pronounce it wrong, it's even worse, as it turns out. I did a bad job with that one.
Well, that's too bad. He famously went on to convince all of his peers to vote for him instead of AOC in an oversight committee situation when he was alive. And then he pulled back from the committee, and that committee still needs a minority ranking member.
Yeah. True. And they'll need to have a special election. It's
not that minorities have a chance to do much of anything, but
no.
It's an important committee, and committee work is key.
Yeah, and this will, I mean, in this atmosphere, it will be talked about in terms of like again with the Dems holding on for too long. But remember also that a lot of those elections, as I've said, are very rarely, well, not controlled necessarily by this, but they are much easier to predict. It really has a lot more to do with which one of these candidates has helped me the most since I've been running for Congress. And that's, I mean, it's understandable at a minimum. And Gerry Connolly has, like with most older Democrats, has been at it longer and has therefore done more
And
to
helped
help.
a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's his
Wasn't a
payback
bad
for
guy.
helping establish the size of the Democratic caucus.
Yeah.
And a good,
there are
good
people,
congressman, no doubt.
there are people that want change just for the sake of change, which is to say they simply want generational change and they're tired of waiting. And there's
legit.
others who, want it based on merit, and there's others who want it based on what have you done for me. And the third group is by far the biggest.
Yeah, well, that's life, and it stands as a pretty good proxy. And I know people hate finding out that, well, is it really all based on campaign contributions? Yes, but to you, it's, well, let's just total up the campaign contributions. To them, it's, I have things I need to do in Congress, people I want to represent, bills I want to, vote for and push for, and the only way to get here is to win elections. These are the people that help me win the elections, and as a result, I show up, I vote for Democratic leadership in the House, I support Democratic presidents, we build the party, we pass good stuff, Getting elected is kind of super important, and I think that's what you're paying attention to.
And by the way, if I happen to be the Democratic leader, I'm not going to stay leader if I keep shafting the senior people.
Yeah.
Because then nobody's going to trust me, and they'll treat me like Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's new. George Wendt also died, but that's not breaking news anymore, and he was not a member of Congress.
And
they can go to Cheers
I
together.
had a clip to play, but I'm not going to do it. I think we have enough other stuff to do, and it doesn't translate on just the voice as well as it did with the video.
Oh.
But I do have this comment from somebody. I showed some of the videos on Daily Coaster in the comments if you want to go see them, all the different ways he used to come in, and the bar would yell at him, Norm. But I love that bar because the Bull and Finch, the original Cheers bar, was at the base of Beacon Hill, and when I lived in Boston, I was well familiar with it.
Well, that's cool.
Not that I spent as much time in there as Norm, but
Well, right, Greg. All right,
the Cheers bar.
Sure. All right. Well,
they've got a bar stool and a beer, in the corner for him right now. As we speak.
I'm sure.
But somebody on Daily Coast noticed that and said, I used to hang out with George when we were freshmen in college.
Oh.
Goes by the name of Peekaboo Suits. To give credit, he went on to graduate in his first semester with a 0.0 GPA. It was really absolutely no difference between Norm and George. He was just himself, and that's why everybody loved him.
Well, that's method acting.
Yeah, so I thought he was a great character actor. Absolutely fantastic.
As long as that was the character. Yeah, well, a lot of people are like that, and they do a great job with it.
Ask Lou Abbott about Bud Costello.
Okay.
Lou Costello and Bud Abbott and Costello. And Lou Abbott, who is the funny guy, would tell you the reason that this works is because Bud Costello is the best timing in the business.
Yeah. Well, the setup is everything.
Setup is everything.
So having set this up,
we had elections yesterday. It's a Wednesday, so chances are at this time of year there might be an election on a Tuesday. There were a bunch.
There's going to be another. In Virginia.
Probably the biggest one, not a surprise though, progressive DA Larry Krasner kept his primary slot, won his primary, and will win re-election. A progressive mayor in Pittsburgh was beaten in the primary by a center-left guy. So not a tragedy, but just interesting. I don't know enough about it to tell you why. He was very much into reforms, this mayor, but everything is local, and so I can't tell you where the local push came from to replace him with somebody. But the one that I was paying the most attention to, because it's my old stomping grounds, was the state Senate election in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. Why is
You
that?
may know Brooklyn. That's where Mexican tall ships hit bridges.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Oh, battle with the button here. But yes, that was weird news too. But
It was
on
weird. That whole
land,
thing
other
was
things are
weird. But
happening.
what's interesting is my first thought was, I hope nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
And my
Well,
second thought
too
was, I
bad
hope
about
the
that.
bridge is okay. I could care
Yeah.
less about the boat.
All right. I have to sell it to somebody next week.
The bridge, yeah. But unfortunately, there were midshipmen up in the rigging, and so they hit the bridge as well and
Oh,
didn't do so well. So that was bad.
that
Lots of
is
speculation
disturbing.
about what and why and how that happened. That'll be investigated. But to the extent that the federal government investigates it, I don't know what comes of
Yeah.
it. Just they
Right.
probably got 3 people
They're
left
well.
in
That's true.
federal
And
government to work on it.
the guy at the top will say, "Well, I want you to come to the conclusion that this was a naval invasion of our
Mm,
country, and we need to go to war."
right. Might not have rented enough tugboats to really, steer it in the proper direction, but that remains to be seen.
Hmm.
In any case, this New York State Senate district is a really interesting one. If you look at a map,
No, I'm
it's
not going to do that.
sort of a southern part of Brooklyn. A large part of it includes Borough Park, includes Marine Park, where I lived my first 6 years,
Hmm.
Sheepshead Bay, which had the best seafood in New York, Gravesend,
Full of
Homecrest,
sheep's heads.
Midwood. Does not include Brighton Beach, where the Russians live, but some
Oh,
live in Sheepshead Bay. It's on the whole, if you look at the individual neighborhoods,
I'm looking.
55% white, 20% Asian, 3 to 10% black, depending upon the neighborhood, but very, very heavily Orthodox Jewish.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
they vote as a block.
And they got a
And
golf
so
course.
whoever is their candidate generally wins. Now, this particular area, for example, generally votes for Democrats at the state level, but went for
Yeah.
Trump like 75%.
Huh. All right.
So
I
the
mean, not all right. I
Republicans
have I have things to tell you people.
were hoping to win an election there. The previous guy who represented this area
Mm-hmm.
stepped down in
Yeah.
order to be on city council.
Huh.
He stepped down from the state senate to be on city council, which
So
he had been on before.
New York
His
State
name
Senate
is Simcha Felder, relatively famous in
Catholic
New York
guy.
circles because he was one of the leaders of the Democratic rump group that broke off from the Democrats in the state Senate, caucused with the Republicans,
Oh,
and kept the Republican majority as per the wishes of Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat,
that guy. Yeah, I was as soon as you
because
said
it
New York
fit
State
into
Senate,
his power play stuff.
I said, "Oh my God, I have no idea what this person's going to be like." But when he said Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, I said, "I have some idea what this guy is going to be like."
Right.
And that was
So
right.
Simcha Felder, the guy that
Yeah.
left to go to
Mm-hmm.
the city council and was caucusing with the Republicans. In 2022, he ran and he got 95% of the vote. He ran on the
Hmm.
Republican, Democratic, and Conservative uh, ticket.
Well, that'll
Working
get you
families
90.
put up somebody, so he only got 95%, which is different than in 2024 when he ran and he got 99.1% of the vote. He
Mm-hmm.
ran on all the different uh, lines that are available in New York. New York has uh,
19.
fusion tickets available. You can run on both the Democratic and Liberal line. You can run on the Republican and Conservative line. Yeah, that's 4 different parties. So you can vote for an individual
Hmm.
2 different ways. That's the way they do elections there. And so this time, because it's a heavily Trump area, Republicans were hoping they had a shot. But Nachman Caller, the
Hey.
Republican conservative, lost to Sam Sutton,
Hmm.
the Democrat, and he won by about 30 points. And so it was, just personally interesting for me because I got a
Interesting.
chance to tour the old neighborhoods
Ha.
and look at buildings I remember from when I was a kid back in Marine Park. Probably the
Cool.
most famous alumni of Marine Park is Joe Torre, the former Yankee manager.
Okay.
Um, came from the same neighborhood I did, which tells you nothing whatsoever about my baseball skills. I'm just saying.
He was nearby, that's all.
But the park, Marine Park is an actual park, and it's
I see it
big.
on the map. I did look at the map after all, and they got a golf course and everything.
Yeah, it's a big park,
Looks huge.
So very interesting. And so yet again, Republicans' hopes dashed for special elections in off years because Trump people often don't show up. And
they probably don't know that
still haven't
elections.
figured out how to turn the key in that lock.
I only show up in the year that's on the hat. That's
something like that.
That's what we do. Trump 2028. Yeah. I'll see you in 28.
Yeah. So New York Post says about it, the 22nd district encompasses heavy Jewish neighborhoods: Midwood, Flatbush, Borough Park, Madison, Marine Park, Gerritsen Beach, Gravesend, and Sheepshead Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And Democrats greatly outnumber Republicans, but many are moderate to conservative voters who will cross party lines for certain things, like voting for Trump.
Yeah, and Manischewitz.
Yeah.
So
the Democrat got Bronx Representative Richie Torres, and the Republican had the backing of Elise Stefanik and Mike Lawler. Interestingly, Mike Lawler represents Lower Hudson Valley. There's also a large Orthodox Jewish population there. If you drive up around Poughkeepsie, you'll see 3/4 of the signs are in Yiddish.
Really?
And so it's quite interesting. And so it reminds me why Lawler, who is awful, keeps winning. Because he's got a solid block of conservative Orthodox Jews who keep him in power.
Stop it. Okay.
Anyway, it just reminds me.
All right. Well, interesting. I love the analysis. New York is super weird, and you can't just go by. Oh, yeah, there's the Democrat. Yeah, well he's a Republican.
Yeah, not really. So, never judge a book by its cover, and never judge anybody by which party they belong to if you don't know the dynamics. So that's, I think, all of interest.
All right.
The big news, of course, is, in addition to Norm, is the fact that the Republicans are getting closer to passing their garbage bill. As far as I know, it's still in committee now. They started at 1 a.m., the Rules Committee for the markup. Remember, Rules Committee is known as the Powerful Rules Committee, also known as the Speaker's Committee.
Yeah, well.
This one matters. They're trying to incorporate some of the side deals that were made that nobody knows what they are.
Right. It makes it hard to incorporate them.
I'm about to say something which is
true.
Amateurishly ignorant because I don't know that much about it. But apparently, unlike the powerless budget committee, which sounds like it's powerful, but it's not, you can't change the language. You just get to vote it up or down. Rules Committee can change language, and one of the ways they do that is by adding something called a manager's amendment, which I was hoping you would explain to our listeners.
Joe Torre can tell you about it.
Yeah, because apparently there's actually two of them.
Oh.
And I don't even understand one.
Well, normally,
and I don't understand why there would be two.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there would be two, but that must be just the delicate balance they need to make it work. But the manager's amendment is just essentially like when they change things in committee, they'll often have a chairman's, they'll call in there, it's a markup. So a chairman's mark. These are the things that the chairman wants done and ought to be by rights if everybody votes the way they're supposed to. And nobody needs me break their legs, then it'll go through. Now, manager's amendment. Manager they're talking about the floor manager of the bill, the person who's going to be controlling the time for the majority on the floor, and that's usually the chairperson of the key committee of jurisdiction. A bill like a reconciliation bill, I don't even. Very often it is the budget committee chair running the things, but I'm not certain that it's always the case, especially here. And by the way, the budget committee can make amendments in their own bill markups. It's just that they can't do it for reconciliation, because the role of the budget committee in reconciliation is to write the budget and give out the instructions. They're powerful in terms of they give out the instructions to the other committees. Here's what you need to do, and here's the target you need to hit, and here's the money you get to do it.
Normally,
and then,
in a normal situation, not one where budget committee goes on Tuesday and then they vote in rules on Wednesday without even having gotten what the budget committee does.
This is earlier in the process.
Go to any committees.
Earlier in the process, in order to do reconciliation, well, again, here you're right. Normally, in order to get the parliamentarian to agree this is a reconciliation bill and so therefore is protected from the filibuster over in the Senate, you have to follow this procedure. And earlier on, months ago, the budget committee were the ones that divvied up how much money would be done and hit who's going to get instructions and what are those instructions for reconciliation. This committee saved me this much money. That committee saved me that much money. They hand it out. The committees mark it up and meet their targets any way they can. All those bills then go back to the budget committee, and the budget committee's job there, and that's what happened the other night, is to meld them all into one bill, and they're really not supposed to change the language because of all the work that's been done elsewhere. And that's why the budget committee just the other day just took it and pasted it together and voted yes and got it out of there. Then it goes to rules. And in rules, you're allowed to do all the things you would ordinarily do, either back in budget or the committee of jurisdiction. But you couldn't get it done. And now you've stacked the rules committee with enough majority members that usually you can then rewrite the whole thing if you need to. That's what they're up to.
Speakers Committee. And so that is what they're up to. And they made so many side deals. Now, this is one of those situations where my own personal belief is that this is being rushed not because the Republicans, Mike Johnson in particular, are trying to hide what they're doing from the public. There's that. But my personal view is that they're doing it this way with a rush job that doesn't need to be rushed because they're trying to hide what's in it from their members.
Yeah.
Because if the members ever find out what's in this bill, for example, that if you make less than $20,000 a year in this country, your health care and food allocations, food stamps, SNAP, have been taken away from you.
Right, because you don't need them.
You're going to starve, you're going to die, and too bad for you. And, of course, you're going to go to the emergency room anyway, and they're going to take care of you anyway. So you're just going to drive a whole bunch of hospitals, especially in rural areas, out of business.
We're not going to pay those hospitals because we're going to slash Medicaid.
Right. That's one of the things that if members actually knew and understand what's in this and their constituents knew and understand what's in this and get back to the members, they're not going to vote for it.
Right.
But if you rush it through, they will. Or as Sam Stein said on Twitter, we're far past the point of the actual policy mattering.
Yes.
But the Medicaid work requirements so central to the deal have been tried in states before. They failed miserably. So it's not about policy. It's about getting this done because Trump wants it done.
That's kind of the way I thought of it myself today, watching Greg Sargent and others reporting on what was going on, and Sargent reporting the hypocrisy of J.D. Vance having in the past, really blasted the idea of cutting Medicaid and now on board. J.D. Vance, he's a hypocrite. But I guess if you look at it this way, his position on the substance of this bill is it should be and should be described as whatever it takes to make it look like the Trump administration has passed a bill. That's it. If you are a Republican member and you need to slash Medicaid because you have a bunch of crazies in your district who really want that, this bill slashes Medicaid. If you have a real district and they are against those cuts, you tell those people there are no cuts in this bill. Okay. And that's the plan.
Right. And the media is too busy hyping Jake Tapper's book to really
Oh my gosh, yes.
Talk about it.
I think that's contractual obligation at CNN. I wonder if they're getting a cut of his book proceeds, and that's why they allowed him to, to be on the air and instead of taking a leave of absence.
To be fair to CNN, nobody's watching them for anything else, so they might as well do this.
Right, but I am curious whether they get a piece of the sales in some way, because it's really nuts, and every segment they're saying. And by the way, my colleague Jake Tapper has written a book. Really, no,
I think these days
crap.
Our podcast gets more viewers than they do, and we don't have video.
Oh. Yeah,
we have zero.
They
viewers.
have money. What's going on? How come? All right. Well,
for now.
I'm going to write a book.
To the next merger when they just get shut down.
I'm too old to write.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Or maybe that's just going to be CBS. We'll see about that. But in any case, Bobby Kochen points out, if enacted, this would be the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in a single law in U.S. history.
Oh, that's nice. Good.
Lowest deciles lose 2 to 4%.
Keep it up.
Highest deciles gain 2 to 4%. It's horrible. It's outrageous.
Yeah. Well, how much cake do we have?
And
do people want to eat
pass.
Yeah. That's your candidate in a box is kind of instructed to do that, and I think they're sweating it for sure. Some of these people in some of these districts, but they're kind of being told, if we all just insist that this bill is really good for Medicaid, people will believe it, and when Medicaid goes south, we'll say it's the Democrats' fault or the deep state or something, and they'll believe that too.
Or Biden did it.
Let's try it. Right, yeah. We're still working to undo what Biden did to Medicaid. That's what's happening. Yeah. That's just really the plan, is just whatever you need to tell people in your meetings or whatever, tell them this bill did it. Does it do it? Don't ask me that. And I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to let you read it first either. It's just, and then you're going to be stuck. You're going to be out there, and your only alternative is going to be to tell the lies I told you should try.
Right. Meanwhile,
it works for me.
And this is relevant for trying to snow the public.
Yeah.
Target, the company, the store.
Yeah.
Target sales fall sharply in the first quarter.
They missed their target.
They caved on DEI, and Target's sales fell 3.8%.
Oh dear, I can't believe it.
But the retailer warns they'll slip for all of 2025. My point being, there's so much you can hide from the public, and then there's so much you can't because it catches up to you.
Yeah, I did see that report, and I saw some great commentary on it. It was being portrayed as
Trump's beautiful tariffs and his deals in the Middle East mean a golden age for the American economy. Yeah, well, go look at prices.
Apparently not. And on the DEI side, people were saying, it's a consumer revolt. I'm like, well, we're allowed to not shop there. What are you talking about?
Hi everybody, this is Scott Anderson, your summary guy. Were you looking forward to an egalitarian democracy free of bigotry, misogyny, racism, and greed, where people of different appearances, belief, and heritage had a right to live without fear, and everyone could expect a basic level of health, stability, and safety throughout their life? Well, too bad. The plain fact is that we're heading in the wrong direction. And where we once had a voice in such things, increasingly we don't. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. However, if you're looking to join people who understand today's issues and can intelligently address the reality of today from your point of view, you can join us at Kagro in the morning. As you know, there aren't many of us out there, at least compared to them. We need to stick together, and by that I mean send us money. That is contributions to patreon.com, secure, reoccurring contributions. Those contributions keep this show on the air and us together. We've been through a lot together. The temporary loss of the presidency, we hope. The temporary loss of the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, we hope. Face it, we are pretty much all that we have left. Remember, we couldn't do it without you, and you shouldn't do it without us. We're in this together, so thanks.
All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Let's continue. We got another segment or so before I have to be on the lookout for my, hey, we're coming over in 15 minutes to put in your washing machine.
A rogue washing machine. I want to know what song it plays. You know what mine plays.
That's true. Without expecting any remuneration for our
It was
plug.
an LG. I got LG appliances.
Okay, because that's what's coming here too. So we're going to have the same song.
We're going to have the same song.
We should play it at the same time or turn it into a fanfare.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah, my old one going out is a GE that had its own little tune. All right, well, now I'm going to be part of the GE musical family. Or the LG.
The most important thing about washing machines is that
some
they
kind of
clean
G.
your clothes. But the second most important is, like, what tune do they play?
Yeah, that's right. They should
and
be able to change
that. Does it go along
that.
with your dishwasher?
Yeah. Why is that not changeable? There's AI probably in my washing machine. There should be a play, download a different MP3 and make that your laundry is finished thing.
Right.
I don't understand. This thing plays Paradise City at the end. What's happening here? My dad's would have show tunes, Be cool.
By the way, here's an interesting factoid. Did you know that the Cheers finale
okay.
was the second most watched sitcom finale ever?
No. Not
and
terribly surprising.
The first, of course, was...
Of course. MASH, I would guess?
MASH, absolutely.
Although, where does Seinfeld fit in on that? I'm curious. I mean, it wasn't really good. But, I mean, it's famously one of the
It's one of those
most
shows where you couldn't
disappointing
even tell it was over. Because
I guess
like,
it was about nothing.
Start?
But that was the point. It was funny that, that it ended. It was the one sitcom that finally admitted, we're about nothing.
Yeah, but you know what? MASH and Cheers are in a class by themselves.
Well, they were about... Well, no. Cheers wasn't really, but MASH was about something. But okay, all right, that's cool. All right,
so
second most watched.
In any case, we were talking about the bill, and hidden in the bill, besides the ripping off of Medicaid and screwing poor people, is the fact that it's going to do something that Americans claim to care about and absolutely positively do not care about whatsoever, which is going to increase the deficit.
Oh, yeah.
So I say that because this piece from Fortune, remember, it's 9:32, so the market just opened. Dow futures dropped 250 points, and Treasury yields jump after. That means the bond market is going up, and the stock market is going down, and that's not good. After Moody's downgrades U.S. debt.
Oh, yeah, right.
Moody's didn't just downgrade U.S. debt. Moody's said, you know what, a lot of the banks, you may get downgraded yourselves because, you hold a lot of this debt.
Oh.
Stock futures pointed lower on Sunday evening as investors weighed fresh warnings on U.S. debt and the potential for Trump's trade war to heat up again. Late Friday, Moody's downgraded the U.S. credit rating one notch. That came as Congress tries to extend Trump's tax cuts and add new ones, which are expected to deepen federal deficits.
Yeah.
Stock signaled a retreat on Sunday night as investors weighed fresh warnings on U.S. debt and the potential for Trump's trade war to heat up again. So, it's not good. Now, this was on the 18th, so that was looking at the Monday stock market. Nothing has changed other than some other bad Moody stuff. So let's just peek in on the market and see if we know anything.
All right. Hello.
The futures today dropped 440 points, not 250. So it was even worse than Monday. And we have no chart available in the market yet because there's a delay. I think it's like a 10-minute delay so that you can't use Google to make money.
Oh.
You have to pay the stock exchange to make money.
You
have to pay Bloomberg if you want up-to-date ticker stuff.
Or you lay your own fiber optic cable all the way to New York.
Right.
Then you can do it. All right, that's interesting. It's a weird thing to do.
So it's something we'll have to keep an eye on.
Considering how many billionaires use Google to make money.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. What?
There's so much going on.
I know.
That
forget it.
Another big story won't get the play it deserves, but should.
We got the rest of the week to yell about it.
So I don't know if you covered this yesterday.
Me neither.
Tulsi Gabbard has a chief of staff whose name is Joe Kent. Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
For some reason I want to
Clark
say he
Kent.
was
his
Las
brother.
Vegas guy or something. I don't know where he's from.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he's not a
Joe
good
Kent.
person.
I've heard the name. Yeah, that's a given. Yeah. Let me see what I can find out about him as you tell the story. Yes.
Well, the story is that Trump has this line that Venezuelans are bad and they're all part of a gang. And the leader of Venezuela is putting them up to screw over America. Therefore, it's not only his right, but his duty and obligation to pick up these people off the street with no due process, suspend habeas corpus, and get them out of the country.
Yes, even if they're not Venezuelan.
And even if they don't go to Venezuela when he gets them out.
Right, that too. It really doesn't matter where they go.
It doesn't matter. He just has the right to pick people up and get rid of them.
Yes. See Christy Noem about that one.
And typically, with Trump, after having come up with the policy, he then says to Tulsi Gabbard, find some analysis that supports my conclusion.
Yes, and fire anybody whose analysis doesn't.
So the analysis is that that's wrong. There's really no evidence to show that.
Oh no. Yeah.
And so Joe Kent, Tulsi Gabbard's chief of staff, pushes analysts to rethink report on Venezuelan deportations.
Rethink your employment.
And then, I think he does fire people that don't agree.
All right. I mean, not all right, but okay. That sucks.
Yeah,
that guy's crazy.
He's from Washington State.
He is, and as a matter of fact,
the Yakult Republican turned White House operative pushed a since-fired senior analyst to rethink a report that went against White House justification for deporting Venezuelan immigrants, says the local paper.
Yeah. For the political junkies on the show, contextualizing him, Joe Kent won the primary for Washington's 3rd Congressional District, defeating then-incumbent Jamie Herrera Butler. Did she say Butler or Butler? Or Beatler, I don't remember. But remember, she was the Republican who said, oh my God, January 6th is a bad thing and the president is crazy, briefly. Anyway, so he ran against her, defeated her, and has since, well, you can see he's not in that job. Who is in that seat? That's Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez in that seat instead.
Right. Relatively conservative area.
Yes.
And another reminder why the Democrats have to have a big tent. You'll have people that don't agree with everything you say, and you're really annoyed that they said something, and Joe Manchin, and better to be in the majority.
Right. A big tent will help you keep out a dumb Kent. It works.
So Kent was nominated as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, but right now he's serving as chief of staff for unintelligent Tulsi Gabbard.
Right.
And he's in the middle of all of this.
Yes.
And basically lying about intelligence and cooking the books to support your view is really bad for this country. It's bad for the country's national security. You can't do your job if you're told to cook the books, and bad things will come of it. Yes. It's like lying about plane maintenance, and then all of a sudden the door falls off. It's just these things are not good.
You were trying to give them a Pacific Northwest example. That's good.
They have bad outcomes.
They do.
So you should never do this. It should be a colossal scandal, along with Pete Hegseth and the Signalgate stuff.
I agree.
And it is a scandal. New York Times had it on the front page.
There you have
it. But that's not going to slow down the bill. That's
no, not at all. That doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, it has a lot to do with the party that suggests that all of this is okay and then lies about it.
Yes, well, that's true.
Is the party that suggests everything is okay and lies about it. And I'm just trying to make the point that whoever and wherever you look in this administration, they're awful. They're liars. They're terrible people. They're incompetent. But they have enough power to push stuff through anyway, and therefore they're going to screw you, and that's why this country's in decline.
And the philosophy there is it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, or the policy is good or bad, or you know what it is or you don't. Say the following things, and if that doesn't appear to work for you, say the opposite thing, and then come on back and pass more of our stuff. That's why.
This is Jonathan Cohen writing about the bill. The GOP's big Medicaid idea was tried before and failed badly.
Right.
Arkansas and Georgia tried work requirements. The results were not pretty.
Arkansas and Georgia. Okay. It's like people don't want to even work anymore in Arkansas and Georgia.
Right. And by the way, I think it was the CBO who did the latest analysis. Budget Labs at Yale was doing analysis. All of them point to the fact that, it's not an exaggeration to say that more than 10 million people are going to lose Medicaid because of all of this. Some of it from the bill itself, some of it from other things the same Congress wants to do. But that's going to be the end result. Larry Levitt on Twitter is one of the better people to follow in terms of spelling all of this out. But whether you pick the low number of 7.8 million or the higher number of 13 million, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, like 7 million's bad.
7 million would be terrible. Yeah. And these are the people who could least afford to lose their health care.
Whenever you're touching Medicaid, that's what you're doing.
Right. For Georgia, which is the current state that's doing this, 2 years ago, the state introduced a similar version of Medicaid work requirements as part of a new initiative called Pathways to Coverage.
Oh.
It's available to
How did the
low-income
pathway
people who
go?
didn't qualify for the state's traditionally narrow guidelines. After being laid off, Tanisha Corporal, in late 2023, Corporal told me in a phone interview she split her time between setting up a nonprofit of her own after she lost her job and logging volunteer hours at another organization, the type of activity that should have satisfied the Pathways requirement in Georgia. So she tried and got rejected 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
The rejections were electronic with only a note saying there are no eligible people in your household.
Oh, that sounds dodgy.
The state went in person, learning eventually the glitch on her first application was with her volunteer hours. Evidently, the letter had too much detail.
Too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
That was the
She
error.
gave up after that, figuring she and her 21-year-old son in college could get by with clinic care. Then one day he FaceTimed from campus, showing her finger badly bent from a pickup basketball game.
Ouch.
He asked her if it was okay to go to the hospital because he knew they were uninsured. She said yes.
Uh-oh.
Testimony drew the attention of a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution who included it in an article about problems with Pathways that Corporal immediately forwarded to a caseworker. The next day, an official called to say they were approving her coverage and making it retroactive.
Oh, okay. Well,
so that's what a free press does for you.
Way to go, Georgia.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Just don't give her any water or food while she's waiting for a representative to answer her call. That's illegal.
This is one of those, you tell a story people can understand you can't encompass 7.8 or 13 million people.
True.
But this lady's story is exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, and that hits home. Right. Calling home. Is it okay if I go to the hospital? I've got a medical emergency. I don't know. We got to weigh the factors here. Like, not where we're supposed to be. In the richest, most beautiful country in the world.
Nothing about Georgia's experience should have been surprising because pretty much the same thing happened in 2018 when Arkansas introduced work requirements, not for a new group like Georgia, new enrollees, but for people already on the program. Harvard researchers examining the data estimated that more than 95% of the target population actually satisfied the Arkansas work requirements, meaning they were not just eligible, but legally entitled to coverage.
Okay.
But nobody can make their way through the process.
Yeah, you can have it. You please stay on the line. Your call is important to us. Your wait time is approximately till you're dead.
Right. A federal judge in early 2019 put a stop to the Arkansas program on the theory that the effects were incompatible with Medicaid's basic purpose of promoting healthcare access for the poor. The legal rationale would disappear under the new Republican bill, which would not merely permit work requirements, but make them mandatory. In other words, Medicaid in every state would look more like it did in Arkansas and more like it does in Georgia today than the way we understand Medicare now.
Sure, that's great. Everything should look like Arkansas.
Supporters of the bill say the CBO is lying. To your point.
Deep state, boo. Yeah. They're just right. They just look, if the CBO scores it this way and that's bad news for you, say the CBO is lying. If people don't believe you, tell them they're alien lizards. Whatever. You lie. Say whatever you need to do to get out of that town hall as soon as possible.
Advocates and experts say a bigger factor than just trying to get their way through the system is the difficulty of so many Medicaid beneficiaries documenting the status, especially because Georgetown research professor Leonardo Cuello told me the current legislation includes a look-back provision allowing states to disqualify applicants who haven't maintained the minimum hours for a month or two, or even 12, prior to applying.
Oh, they're going to look back if you haven't.
Like a year ago, you didn't work, and so now you're applying, and you've been working hard for the last 9 months. But a year ago, there was a week where you didn't, and so no, you don't qualify.
Sure, yeah, you missed you didn't pay that traffic ticket 6 years ago. We're deporting you, kind of thing.
So you may think this bill is terrible. But when you get down to the details and look at the individual situation, it's horrible.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I had it right. But so if you're worried about it being horrible, you can just tell your constituents, try first telling them, no, it's actually great. if you don't believe
it's terrible. It's not
say
horrible.
it's not so bad.
You're exaggerating.
It's not terrific, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, yeah, and good luck also meeting the work requirements. All of you CBO analysts who will shortly be joining everybody in the unemployment lines and hoping for government medical coverage and finding out that one day you weren't working last month because we found out you were working on a CBO analysis, and that's not work.
Right. So Jonathan Cohn says, these are also the same Republicans who, while taking hundreds of $billions out of public health insurance for low-income Americans, are trying to extend trillions in tax cuts that skew heavily toward the wealthy, which suggests maybe their real motive isn't to improve or save Medicaid.
Oh, no.
But rather to divert funding for a purpose and group of people they consider more important. Yes. Imagine that.
Hard to believe, but yeah, it's happening. It's weird, the hypocrisy in this one particular party that just really seems into it.
Right.
It's the Republican Party.
I am reminded of the Venezuelans in Doral.
Oh, working at Doral?
No, in the county, in the area.
Oh, all right.
Who are now American citizens.
Yeah.
And voted for Trump. And then find their status being revoked. Or at least at risk for revoking because the Supreme Court said Trump could do that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they feel betrayed.
No.
And so my point
Here's
here
why
is,
you're not betrayed.
Are you feeling sorry for these people? Are you feeling sorry for the millions of people who are going to lose their health insurance and food assistance, who are very poor and voted for Trump?
I mean,
and how much of this is leopard face eating? And how much of this is, look, I mean, these are people and this is bad.
Right.
And how sorry are you supposed to feel?
True.
And, I find myself feeling worse for the folks who are going to lose their health and food guarantees.
Yeah.
Minimum. I feel sorrier for them than I do for the Venezuelans who voted for Trump. But you got to pick your own battles and you got to decide where your compassion is going to go.
Yeah. Well,
and
you can
feel sorry for none of them, but it's bad. All of it is bad.
I won't kick you out of the show for not feeling bad for any of them. But yeah, you want to think on that a little bit. But voting is a tough thing for people for whom it's new. Come to a new country, become a citizen, and vote in your first election.
Well, and you were promised.
You got it wrong the first time.
And you believe the promises. And no matter how many people told you the guy's a liar and a con man, you still believe the promises. They're victims.
Well, they believed in the American dream, or some version of it, which I will give you money. Oh, all right. I believe that.
I guess I come down and, okay, so what are you going to do now?
Yes.
You still vote Republican. You are dead to me.
I think that's fair, certainly. Right. It'd be very difficult to justify all of this, to say the very least.
Same for the people
they've
who
learned.
Make less than $20,000.
I believe they've learned a lesson.
You vote for him again. You vote for Republicans after this. You are dead to me too.
Everybody gets a chance to learn their lesson. After all, even the genius chairperson of the very powerful Senate Appropriations Committee, Susan Collins, knew very well that Donald Trump needed to and did learn a real lesson by being impeached last time. And
you have to understand she was troubled.
Yes, right. Deeply troubled. And now so are the new Americans recently naturalized from Venezuela. They too will have an opportunity to learn their lesson. And let's see, lots of people are learning lessons, as you were telling me about Joe Kent here and what he's doing with the intelligence community and thinking about all the very staunch intelligence community supporters among old line never Trumper Republicans standing up for the intelligence community in this, and thinking about Liz Cheney and sacrificing her political career to do this, but thinking about like the inventor of firing the analysts who won't give you what you want, Dick Cheney, and maybe he's learned a lesson too. I don't know. He can talk to the Venezuelans and think about this. But this is why you stay away from the Republican Party. They don't stand for anything in particular. And even when it looks like they're standing for something, at best it's because, oops, the thing I stood for screwed me over and I'm changing sides now. But not my party, interestingly enough. Anyway, boo for the Cheneys.
Anyway, that's all I got. I'm going to go watch Cheers reruns.
Sure. And if you want, come on over and help these guys find the laundry room when they show up, if that's not too much trouble from Connecticut. I don't know how I'm going to make this work.
I'll start walking and I'll be there, soon.
Eventually, you'll get there. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Greg. And we'll try it again tomorrow. And I'll have clean clothing, I guess, if everything goes well next time. It's a good thing we're not on. I have some clean clothing left. I exaggerate. Okay.
You know what?
No.
I am going to find a favorite Norm clip since we have a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see, firstly, if I could find it. And I did.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I'm going to send it to you. It's going to be at the bottom.
I'm going to look for it. All right.
It's going to be at the bottom of the team chat.
I'm staring at it right now. There it is.
And, see if you can play it.
Wee Westy 29's
That's the
version of this. Is this the like a best of, or let's see, the one you like?
Well, the clips that people are collecting are all the times he walks into the bar and everybody yells Norm.
Right.
That was the thing on the show. The shtick was everybody recognized him in his world-weary way. He makes his way to his favorite bar stool in the corner and gets a beer.
Right. And I don't even. He just never leaves. He only leaves to come back in again, I guess. All right, so let's see. This clip, 54 seconds. Let's see if we can do this without copyright problem.
Guess what, everybody? Little Frederick beat Cliff at darts.
Fraser? What are you doing here? I didn't give my son to you so you could run off and spend the day in a bawdy house.
Yes, well, my little chopped salad. I mean, we just got here, 10 minutes ago?
You're lying.
Well, yes, I'm lying, but...
Then he ran for Congress.
I thought that Frederick might enjoy himself.
Enjoy himself in a bar? He's 11 months old. What kind of values can he learn here?
Well, I thought the place had a lot to offer.
Oh, please. He'll never learn to speak in this environment.
Afternoon, everybody.
Norm walks in.
There he is. Okay. The baby knows to say no. All right. He has learned to speak in this environment.
Finish it up.
All right.
He said, Mommy.
All right. Well, that's good.
Cheers was a good show.
It was. The clip I saw yesterday was of a guy who comes into Cheers and says, I've been out of town. I moved to Alaska for my job. I haven't been in this bar in 20 years. And back when I was here, so much has changed. The new paneling, they used to have an old green tiled floor. Oh, and he's going on and on and on. And he says, why?
The stairs were on the other side.
Right. You've seen this one. Stairs are on the other side of the wall. And then he says, he's talking to Woody behind the bar. And, it's amazing all the changes that have happened. Yeah, they even changed the paneling on the walls. Oh, yeah, where? Right there behind Norm. And then flash Norm. Like, that slowly dawns on you. Like, even 20 years ago, Norm was at that corner. All right. Got it. He was a beloved character.
Yep.
Cool. I like that one. I didn't see that one, I guess, in the original run. And also, Cheers taught me the Albania song.
Yes.
So now I know,
Very important.
as you do, that Albania borders on the Adriatic Sea. And you'll never forget it, even though there's no way you should remember that song.
Exactly right.
Got it.
Anyway, take care, and
Yes,
we'll talk tomorrow. And by then, we'll have more news on the bill.
Yeah.
Might even get a vote today because as soon as it's out of committee, they're going to rush it to the floor before anybody has a chance to read it.
Yeah, it hasn't been written yet. So that's true, right? That's the actual situation. Is they're still deciding what will go in it in the Rules Committee, but they want it to be voted on the floor today. And you used to remember every time they would only wait one full day to bring a bill to the floor when the Democrats were in charge.
There was a special vote to allow the speaker to do this, which passed because, Republicans are awful.
Yeah,
Everything about
we'll
them
chop
is
your
awful.
hands off if you don't pass. That's why. So, right. Yeah, and it used to be, we need 72 hours to read the bill. Now, how about 72 seconds? All right. That'll be fine.
That's too long.
Yeah. I can't read anyway. AI will tell me what's in it. So maybe they'll depend on that.
Anyway, that's
all right,
the story.
Greg,
I'll
thanks
see
very
you
much.
tomorrow.
Okay, will do. And I will continue on. Let's see what we can squeeze in before our break. What's tops on the list for today? I can tell you about one Republican. I guess if you, maybe I should have had you try to guess, Greg. One Republican who's still holding out against this whole thing. And think.
Not Chip Roy.
No, House Republicans crazy enough to say, I don't care if you threaten to throw me off the top of the Empire State Building. I'm voting.
It's Tom Massie. Tom
Yes.
Massie always says no.
There you are. Trump threatens Republican representative exposing his budget lies. That's the way the New Republic is putting it anyway. But yep, you got it. It's Tom Massie, and that guy's nuts. But whatever. Yeah. And close margins. It's great to always be able to count on Massie to screw the Republicans up, and then you only have to find like 2 or 3 more votes.
Yeah, and it won't be Mike Lawler or Nick LaLota. But
No,
interestingly, Mike Lawler is kissing his desire to be governor goodbye with this.
Oh, all right. Well, and by the way, it's an unwanted kiss. Just pointing that out for everybody so they know what the score is there.
What, you think I'm Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah. It doesn't matter which side of the ticket you think you're voting for. You're going to have somebody there.
And by the way, polling is coming
a
out
sex
saying
pest.
Cuomo is just running away with the mayor race. So he'll be the next mayor of New York.
It's amazing. Everyone should be running away from Cuomo, and yet it is bizarre. New York is crazy.
It's just a crazy state.
I don't understand.
The politics
New
don't make
York
any
City.
sense. Don't try to make sense out of it.
No, I don't know what it is. I mean, by the way, they all run around. The uptown, upper crust folks love to run around and say they're super informed and read all the newspapers and like.
Won't
did
help
you
you.
read that Cuomo is a real super
Reading
liability?
papers doesn't tell you what's going on.
No, not this one. All right. Well, they should put it in the crossword or in the games, in the New York Times games. You got to match
put
the
in
sex
the wedding
pest
announcements. It's the only way you get news. That's the only thing they read.
That could be the answer. All right, Greg. Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Or well, no, we won't. We'll hear you. You know how this works. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. I'm thinking about what to do if and when things go wrong here. If the washing machine repair guys, we're now on the watch here. We are in the 10 to 2 delivery window. I'll warn you that it is possible that I may say, OMG, I just have to go, and that's it. And then end the show. And for those of you listening live, that'll be a problem. For those of you listening on the podcast, I mean, it ends when it ends. So you'll feel gypped, perhaps. Oh, yeah, right. We're not supposed to say. You'll feel. Okay, you can't even say you'll feel Romanied because that's not the point. Yeah, that wasn't the word, the name that was the problem. It was the behavior. It's another one we gotta work out of the vocabulary there. An late comer, all of that. Anyway, you'll feel like you got less show, and you will have gotten less show, but it was intentional. That's the point. All right, let's see. I thought though, what if I tried to play some. Do I have any things that I recorded for days away from the microphone that I didn't use, but that are still relevant? That's a good question. And I'm not certain I have the answer for that. And I don't know whether some of these I don't know whether they would be new material or whether I did use them and just didn't eliminate them from the folder where I was keeping these things. I don't know. Let's see. I'm just poking around here to see what might still be. Well, there are a few things. I mean, the real problem, though, is that they're very often very long. And one, they might play into a break, and you don't really want that to happen. Although that's not the worst thing in the world if you dropped out for a little while. I mean, it'd be interesting content when you came back, that's for sure, but you might have missed something valuable. But what I really need is like a 5-minute thing that will allow me to answer the door. Well, anyway, before they get here, I should just start telling you some stories that you might actually be interested in, and then, good things will happen. You'll hear something neat. I told you that there was this story about Thomas Massie in the New Republic. I managed to find it here. Trump threatens Republican representative exposing his budget lies. Thomas Massie isn't falling in line on the budget, and Trump is pissed. Now, does that mean he'll hold out? Sometimes they write him off and try to work around him and make sure that they find the votes they need elsewhere. And they can spare one vote. But it probably does bother Trump that he can't get this guy in line or get rid of him. Let's see what's going on here. One House Republican is calling out the Trump administration's lies, and they are lies, that the big, beautiful budget bill won't raise the deficit. That's the most obvious lie in the whole thing. But, okay. Speaking to CNN's Manu Raju on Tuesday, Representative Thomas Massie said that, quote, under the policies of this bill, we're going to add $20 trillion with a T, trillion dollars to the debt over the next 10 years, $2 trillion a year, as it happens. I guess on average anyway, which is $3.5 to $5 trillion more than would have been added otherwise. So like literally doing nothing and just maintaining the Biden budget, in fact, would instantly take $3.5 to $5 trillion off what they're expecting to add because of the big, beautiful bill, which, gives lie to the whole purpose of Republicans in general for the last 40 to 50 years. But guess what? They were never being honest with you. They just weren't. So if you are on board because of their fiscal conservatism, where have you been? Well, you're not listening to this show, but if you have a neighbor who has that problem, you might ask them that. And they will say, and report you as an illegal immigrant. When Raju told Massie about the White House's claims that the bill is deficit neutral, Massie chuckled. Why did he chuckle? He chuckled because, well, one, it's ridiculous, but he chuckled because he had heard on the Kagro in the Morning show. And he thought that maybe David's just exaggerating or using hyperbole and saying that Republicans are instructed, and some of them understand this innately anyway, to simply tell whoever's asking questions about the bill whatever they want to hear about the bill. Do you not care about deficits and you want to hurt poor people? This bill slashes the living crap out of Medicaid. And yeah, it adds to the deficit, but so what? F you. All right. Are you speaking to somebody who cares deeply about Medicaid and worries about Republicans' electoral prospects if it's slashed? Then tell those people this budget doesn't touch Medicaid. Are you worried about the deficit and you don't really care so much about Medicaid? Tell people the bill's deficit neutral. I mean, do you want to listen to the CBO? You want to actually hear? I don't care politically which one it does. I just want to know what's going to happen to the economy and be able to predict the future to some extent. Tell me what the CBO says about it. Fine, you can tell them the truth. It's going to add $10 trillion, $20 trillion to the deficit, to the debt over the next 10 years. Just say whatever you want. Oh, come on, you're just kidding. Well, I don't really want to depend on Thomas Massie for my information ever, but he is telling you what's going on. Massie is being handed, he's a deficit hawk, or he considers himself to be a debt and deficit hawk. Whether he's legit or not, I don't know. So what do they tell him? Well, the bill's deficit neutral. How could that possibly be? How can you be deficit neutral and add $20 trillion to the debt over 10 years? I don't know. He says that's a joke, says Massie, whose votes often align with libertarian principles. Earlier in the day, anyway, it's a joke. It's a bad joke. But, he means it in the sense of like they're just lying about that. It's not to be taken seriously. And I don't know. Thomas Massie tells you what's going on. I'm telling you what's going on. Don't listen to him, but but that's the truth. They really are simply saying, just whatever, man. Say whatever you need to say. And if people say that doesn't make any sense, you say, you're from the deep state. I'm out of here. Gotta go. Earlier in the day, President Trump attacked Massie after a meeting with House Republicans on Capitol Hill. I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. And I guess in a sense he doesn't. In government, this isn't his real quote, but in government we lie and tell people whatever it is they need to hear in order to get them to shut up and get out of the way if they're not going to cooperate. So, right. Some people don't understand that about government. I don't think Thomas Massie understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly, Trump said. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. So, now, hardcore Republicans who are party first and hey, toe the line for Trump. And if you don't, we'll break your neck. Because, come on, this is great for America. Trump doesn't even toe the Republican line. I don't care, MAGA. Yeah, well, there's no dealing with those guys. Trump's threats to oust Massie may not go very far, as he was able to survive a primary challenge in the 2024 election, despite facing attack ads over his criticism of Israel. They're not going to care that much about that in Kentucky, to be honest. He ended up winning with 75% of the vote and even stepped up his criticisms over the next year. What other lessons should he possibly learn from that? I think he's learned his lesson. Massie has long been skeptical of the Trump administration claims about fiscal responsibility. He's not likely to cave and vote for the budget bill if there's any indication that it would increase the budget deficit. And there is 20 trillion indications. With the Gops narrow margin, I was going to say majority, but same thing, in the House, the bill would likely need near unanimous approval, but not entirely unanimous approval, to pass. And Massie's opposition could inspire other Republicans to join him. It could, but then having their faces chopped off might also inspire, the threat of having their faces chopped off could inspire other Republicans not to join him after all. So that may happen. And I guess Republicans have another vote to play with in that Gerry Connolly will not be able to cast his vote either. So, yeah, the margin is down to who's not in that day. I mean, it's a very important bill and people will drag themselves there, but somebody could be sick, somebody misses a vote, somebody's stuck in traffic. It could change the outcome of this vote. Just, the economic future of America, whatever. All right. So I thought you deserved to hear that story. Does it change your mind about anything? I'm not sure whether it should. But okay, so let's see. Other stories to tell you. There are a number. What will we go with next? Yeah, we've talked about the plane an awful lot, but there was an interesting. Everything is screwed up. Maybe Pocket is gone wacky here. All right, here is a piece from Lawyers, Guns, Money blog. Lawyers, Guns, and Money if you're reading it out, but if it's just the URL, lawyersgunmoneyblog.com. Paul Campos had, I think, a fairly short piece that was of some interest to me. I think I skimmed it yesterday and had judged it worth keeping. Very confused old man given test ride by dealership thinks car is actually a gift. Just one more entry on the change in the narrative that we discovered yesterday with CNN's reporting that we originally were told, Trump was so vain and whatever and so bribable that the Qatari government thought maybe if we give him this plane, he'll do us a couple of favors or make us a lot of money. And it turned out that, in fact, Trump had been subtly, in his way, hinting that they ought to give him such a plane the whole time. They thought that, I'll read you the story. I think he covers all of this. Pretty funny, if not like a clown, funny investigation here with a gift link from Maggie's Farm, that is to say Maggie Haberman's Farm, New York Times story about, I guess, the change in narrative there. Is this a new-ish piece? Funny, it doesn't look newish. I'm looking at the date here. Where is the date? Where do you put dates in New York Times articles? Do you leave that out now? Does that not happen? What is this? Is it from the magazine? They put a very big splashy graphic up there, but they don't say the date of publication. Where is this thing? And seriously, how do you not have this? So I don't know how old it is, and I don't know whether it's from the last couple of days or what. The inside story of Trump's search for a new Air Force One. I think we got the details of it. It passed on to us by other outlets. So, all right. Well, we're not going to read this one, but okay. The Too Long Didn't Read on it we get from Paul Campos here at Lawyers, Guns, and Money. Trump's announcement that Qatar was giving him a very special 747 that's been tricked out like a luxury jet for 6-year-old pimps was just Adderall grandpa getting all confused and excited about the potential new toy. I guess they grabbed this section from the Times. Interviews with 14 people involved in or briefed on the search for the replacement plane say it started when the White House Military Office, which oversees presidential travel, worked with Boeing and the Defense Department to compile a list of every late model 747 on the market with a business jet layout, which could more quickly be retrofitted into a presidential plane. And to be honest, all the reporting I have heard in the last couple of week, has been you can't really quickly convert anything into an Air Force One, a presidential plane. But I guess it would be, one of the criteria probably should have been, and it's been in the hands of somebody that we trust not to have embedded all sorts of weird listening devices or God knows what in the wiring. And I don't know who I'd trust with that, but yeah, probably you'd be like, well, Russians are out, Qatar, maybe, probably should just be out. It's a foreign government, should be out. Anyway, there were only 8 planes in the world that fit the bill, including that flashy double-decker jet that Qatar had been trying to sell for several years with no luck. That we learned a little earlier on. A brochure for the aircraft advertised just the kind of opulence Mr. Trump favors. There were soft fabrics of the highest quality in the bedroom, along with luxurious leather and exquisite wood veneers, and a lavishly designed bathroom that is, also a quote from the brochure, almost a piece of art, which is almost the word fart if you add an F in front of it, but I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Anyway, almost a piece of art, but actually just a crapper. Anyway, I bet, says Paul, hey, who's at the center of this cluster? And you know what kind of cluster it is. He doesn't say it, but who's at the center of this cluster? Oh, this guy. Who is this guy? I don't know. Let's find out. And this, I think, also from the New York Times article. And it says, this second 747 was still available for sale. I guess the second one that the Qataris owned. Mr. Witkoff, he's the one at the center of the cluster. An old friend from Mr. Trump's early days in New York real estate, knew the Qataris well. The country's sovereign wealth fund had bailed him out in 2023 when a real estate deal on Central Park South went bad. By the way, the Middle East owns, I guess, a large chunk of central Manhattan because they keep bailing out people who have deals that go bad. Kushner has a deal go bad on Fifth Avenue. Was it the Qataris bailed him out on that one? I think so. And or at least one of their close neighbors anyway. And now they're bailing out Witkoff and another one. And why do all these real estate geniuses have so many deals that go south that need bailouts? That is another question. Anyway, Paul goes on. It's good to have friends. And then another clip, short one, from the New York Times. So Mr. Witkoff got in touch with the Qataris to ask about the plane. Love at first sight is the next section here. Again, a lot of this is really almost all of it, I guess, is just excerpts from the New York Times article. So in a way, we're reading the article, and Paul has done us the favor of editing out the most boring stuff. By mid-February, Qatar had agreed to send the jet to Florida when Mr. Trump was at his Pervalago resort so that he could see the plane firsthand. So now we know, we learned about that and that he had seen it and toured it, and it wasn't any kind of coincidence. And we started wondering, well, why was the plane there? Was there a Qatari royal in town going to something in Florida, going to something in Mar-a-Lago, or was it just planted there in the hopes that he would see it and covet it, or was it in fact arranged ahead of time? And that's the answer. Trump was looking for this thing forever and has been pursuing it. So they said, fly it to Florida, let him see it. The plane arrived on the morning of Saturday, February 15th, after a nonstop flight from Doha to West Palm Beach, Florida, according to flight tracking records. That's actually not important. Mr. Trump left his club for the short drive to the airport and stepped out of his limousine about 10 a.m. to lay eyes on a plane that once had been used by the Qatari royal family and was being used by the Qatari royal family right there to try to bribe him. Every surface and detail in this room reflects the opulent design, the sales brochure said. The highest level of craftsmanship and engineering prowess was applied to outfit the interior meticulously. See if you can guess where this is heading, says Paul. More excerpts. By the time Mr. Trump toured the aircraft on February 15th, discussions about how to acquire the plane had changed. The talk among senior aides to Mr. Trump shifted from a government-to-government sale to a donation, which, what are you even thinking? It's amazing to me. It would never occur to me, seeing this plane and being like, how much is it worth? $400 million. And I don't think my mind would ever go to, how can I could wish for it. I wish I could just have it, but my mind would never go to, how can I engineer it so that they give it to me for free? How can I have this $400 million airplane for $0? Now, he ran for president in order to do things like that. So I guess obviously it would occur to him, how can I leverage the power of the United States government such that I get a free airplane? And I mean, me personally, none of this crap where I fly around in the fanciest airplane in the world because I'm president of the United States. What happens when I'm not president? I want the fanciest airplane in the world. How can I make that happen? That's what's going on in his head. Not how we're going to settle wars abroad, how we're going to make it so that Americans who work hard and play by the rules can succeed as a family. That's all stupid. How can I get stuff? And the best, most beautiful stuff. And nobody else can have it. I want it as president, and I want to take it with me so that the next president doesn't have a plane as beautiful and comfortable and luxurious as I do. No one should. That's what he's working on. Anyway, so note there, by the time he toured the aircraft, discussions about how to acquire the plane had changed. Forget government-to-government sale. Let's make it a donation. The passive voice, Paul notes here. Back to the article. That was a surprise to Air Force officials. At no point, Pentagon officials said, did the Air Force propose that the plane be donated. It's very rare that the Air Force is working in donations. But I guess they got to get used to it now. One senior administration official told the Times that Qatar raised the option of a potential gift, or at least that Qatari officials were, quote, agreeable to the idea of a no-charge government-to-government transfer when it came up. A second official said Mr. Witkoff, for one, always believed the transaction would be a donation, because he's just like Trump. The inevitable punchline, Paul says, is the Qataris had been trying to sell this monstrosity unsuccessfully for years. And why send it to Florida? Because they thought they had found somebody vain and stupid enough to buy it. The whole world market said, no, we don't want this piece of crap. Wait a minute. I know someone stupid enough to do this. And it's Donald Trump. Government officials in Qatar, says the New York Times once again, who had long wanted to unload the plane, had a different version of the sequence of events. According to a person familiar with their timeline, they were willing to send the jet to Florida for Mr. Trump to take a personal tour. But the expectation was that the plane would be sold to the United States, not offered as a gift. Now, of course, Paul says they're finding out that Donald Trump's basic economic theory of life is that you give him stuff for free, and maybe one day he will be able to do you a favor. It's all about the relationship, don't you know? Plus, a refusal is not the act of a friend. Back to the Times. Mr. Witkoff also has strong personal ties to the Gulf Kingdom that go back several years. Aside from the bailout by Qatar's sovereign wealth fund, and that's why Trump wants a sovereign wealth fund, Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, Qatar's prime minister, attended the wedding of one of Mr. Witkoff's sons. Wow, that's a rarity, I would think. I have a personal relationship, Sheikh Mohammed said in an interview this year with Tucker Carlson around the time the plane negotiations were underway, describing his ties to Mr. Witkoff. Paul says, "Let's make a deal," comes next. The next excerpt here. The Qatari plane has a luxurious interior, but considerable work would be necessary to prepare the plane to serve as a true Air Force One, including ridding the jet of any hidden electronic listening devices and adding advanced communications equipment and specialized systems to protect the plane from a missile attack or other threats. And even if the plane is donated, the costs of those retrofits would be enormous, according to current and former Pentagon officials, at least $1 billion. And to be honest, they should have been saying that right up front. Like, I want you to make a list of luxury 747s that we could possibly acquire and convert. And they should have said, the list is, Senator, here's my list. 0. There's nothing you can acquire and convert for less money than you could just build the damn thing already. All right, which is pretty funny, given that figure is about 10 times what the plane was being shopped for by the Qataris. That is an interesting note. It is ridiculous, back to the New York Times. Mr. Folkrod said of the idea that the Qatari plane could be a quick fix, adding that the existing Boeing projects could probably be accelerated more. That's a better dollar value than trying to make an airplane from somebody else and trying to make it into a presidential plane. It makes no sense. The Qatari plane is currently in San Antonio somehow. According to photographs of the plane and flight records examined by the Times, no new appropriation for any work on the plane or to maintain it and supply a crew has been approved by Congress, which would be sure to scrutinize, no, not really, any deal completed with Qatar. White House officials have said they are considering hiring L3 Harris, a military contractor, to handle the work needed on the Qatari plane, although the source of the money to do this work, or even the total price tag, has not been made public. Okay, 4 words, Paul concludes: Department of Government Efficiency. Apparently not interested in this at all, and no money to appropriate for any of this. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it seems pretty naive to say, oh yeah, Congress would be sure to scrutinize it. I think they would be sure not to, actually. Anyway, I just thought that might be of interest to you, to bring you up to speed on the latest details and how exactly it was that, oh my goodness, here's a nice plane on here at West Palm Beach, and I'm shopping for a plane. Now, what a coincidence. Let's go take a look. All right, I want to give you a couple other things to catch you up on stuffs here. Let's see. Okay, we're coming up to the break, and then we'll risk it on one more segment. This seems like a fast-ish one. And an outrage, all rolled up into one. You probably heard the story already, but I just want to put it on the record and say, what? This is crazy. Washington Post reporting by Spencer Sue on, where's the dates? Are they just erasing dates from everything? May 19th. Here we are. Oh, updated on May 19th. So I don't know when it was originally published. U.S., that's us. Not just, the word us, but the United States, to pay nearly $5 million, to the family of January 6th rioter Ashley Babbitt. This is really super interesting just in terms of things happening to the courts and the justice system and the budget, sure. But Babbitt, of course, fatally shot by police inside the Capitol during the 2021 riot. She's become a symbol of martyrdom among Trump supporters, oddly enough. Predictable, but do I read the story or just give you the long story short? I mean, you've probably read about this already. What this is, the really interesting thing here is, okay, so the family files like essentially a wrongful death suit against the Capitol Police. How dare you shoot my daughter just for, well, some people say she didn't smash the window, but just for trying to climb through the smashed window and the locked door to gain access to the speaker's lobby, very nearly the inner sanctum of the House of Representatives, while members of the House whom this riot was threatening bodily were still only steps away and attempting to evacuate, to get away from the rioters lest they be killed by them when they were encountered, right? And, oh, this is a wrongful death suit. Well, who defends the United States government against the wrongful death suit? The Department of Justice. And for the past 4 years, the wrongful death suit was filed in early 2024. So for that 1 year, the Biden Justice Department said, no, the death was not wrongful. So we'll defend the suit. And what happens when Trump comes in and flips everything on its head and replaces everybody in the Department of Justice with his own loyalists? He can instruct them to say the new position of the federal government and of the Department of Justice is that this was a wrongful death and we will not defend the suit. And they just turn the United States Treasury into a big purse that they can hand out to January 6th rioters. Will not defend the lawsuit and instead enter settlement talks as a non-interested party, you see, of course, and we'll just say, oh no, we agree, it was wrongful death, here's $5 million, and by the way, half of it goes to your lawyers, and guess what? They're buddies of ours, too. Hi everybody, it's me, David Waldman. Yes, the same guy who interrupts you all the time. Interrupting you one more time, just to tell you again, another reminder that your contributions are what keep this show on the air, and patreon.com, patreon.com, is still among the easiest ways to make the sustaining subscription donations that keep us afloat. Are you ready for the pep talk about how our Patreon campaign is still going strong and growing? Well, too bad. Yeah, the plain fact is we actually are headed in the wrong direction, and whereas we once had about 175 monthly patrons, we're now actually down below 150. Time to recruit some more. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. For those of you in a position to support the show, patreon.com does make it easy to make those secure, recurring monthly contributions to do so. Patreon.com/KagroX gets you straight to our donation page. We've been through a lot together. The worst of the pandemic, we hope. The worst of the insurrection, we hope. So go ahead and treat yourself. You don't need an excuse. Give yourself the gift of a little something you enjoy in life. Support the show. And of course, if you happen to prefer using PayPal or even the Square Cash app, we're up and running on those options too. So thanks again, everyone, for all your support. We couldn't, or at least shouldn't, do it without you. Hope you'll be on board soon too. Thanks for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. And, well, let's see. We're going to risk one more segment. We could be interrupted, but we got one in before the delivery came. And let's see if we can't get to it. I was going to continue, I guess, a little bit with the story of the Ashley Babbitt thing. I just thought it was kind of interesting and interested in in how this was regarded and what we should be thinking about what's happening at the Justice Department. That you can just and they have in many, many cases, not just the Ashley Babbitt case, but other cases where, for instance, people were suing because they felt that, like, for instance, in voting rights section, that redistricting in their area was unfair and facially discriminatory against one or another minority segment of the vote, and they had a good case. And ordinarily, the Justice Department either brings those cases or supports those cases in some way, but instead here they're saying, well, let's drop it. Or if the government said, no, this state's new redistricting plan is discriminatory, now they can instruct the Department of Justice to say, you know what, we changed our mind and we're dropping our suit entirely. And that's happening in many places. I just seconds ago saw mentioned on Blue Sky that, let's see if I can scroll back to it, that local police departments that were under consent decrees or were being threatened with lawsuits by the Department of Justice for police abuses of various kinds, that now all of a sudden the Department of Justice is saying, you know what, we don't care anymore. We're not going to sue after all, or we're not going to hold you to this consent decree anymore. Or we don't see a problem with the way you're policing anymore. That another effect of the same thing, the politicization. And yeah, you can make policy choices, but it's really been quite interesting. Here we are. Carl Quintanilla posting. U.S. Justice Department abandons proposed police reform settlements with Minneapolis and Louisville. U.S. Justice Department seeks to retract prior findings of constitutional violations by Minneapolis and Louisville police departments. It's reported, said here by Reuters, although I don't think the link is to the article itself, or perhaps they're just working on the article now. But I can put aside the post for you just to show you that it really happened. But let me read you a little bit about the Ashley Babbitt situation and see if we can get Spencer Sue's version of it on the record. Trump's administration set now to pay nearly $5 million to the family of Ashley Babbitt to settle a lawsuit brought by the estate of the Trump supporter who was fatally shot by police when she tried to storm the House Speaker's lobby during the January 6th attack on the Capitol. According to two people familiar with the matter, Babbitt's family filed the wrongful death suit in early 2024, seeking $30 million. So I guess they talked him down a little. That's nice. Lawyers for both sides, and that's the problem here. There are no longer both sides. There's the people seeking payment from Ashley Babbitt's estate, her family, and there are people seeking to give her the money on the other side of the coin. So there's no real, advocacy going on for different points here, different views. It's just the federal government is surrendering on this thing because by design, they want to give money to Trump supporters. Lawyers for, quote, both sides told a judge this month that they had reached a settlement in principle. Can you believe it? Reversing the Justice Department's earlier opposition to the case, which had been set for trial in July of 2026. No final deal has been signed, and terms have not been disclosed as of the May 2nd hearing. Judge Anna C. Reyes of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia directed both sides to update the court this Thursday. So coming up, two people briefed on the matter said the Justice Department had agreed in principle, not that there are any, to pay just under $5 million to the Babbitt family, down from 30. That's good news. Dodgy got to that maybe. The two people spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a pending court matter, but it really isn't one. In a court filing by all sides on Monday, none confirmed the total settlement amount, but attorneys for Babbitt's family blabbed, I guess. They wrote that they agreed to settle for up to 1/4 of the total to resolve a dispute by a prior attorney who sought payment, while saying that amount is significantly greater than a likely award that the attorney, Terrell N. Roberts III, would receive. Tom Fitton is going to be getting the money. He's the president of Judicial Watch, which represents the family, and said his group was working pro bono. Oh, really? And is not getting any money from the settlement. Oh, okay. I actually don't believe that. I mean, I should. There's really no reason not to, but I don't, because Tom Fitton is that kind of guy. A second lawyer, Alexandria attorney Richard Driscoll, would be paid for his services by Judicial Watch, interestingly, and the Babbitt family, not from the settlement. I think that's maybe the updates, because I think the first day's reporting was actually, yeah, the lawyers are getting the money for this, which really the Treasury Department should be clawing back here anyway. If there were payments going to the lawyers, like I know it upsets people how much the lawyers sometimes get, but the lawyers do a lot of work and spend a lot of money to prosecute these cases, not prosecute, but to handle these cases. But here they're not doing any work. They just file suit and watch the other side surrender to them. So they really shouldn't be getting paid, quite honestly. But that's not the way things usually work. Anyway, let's see. So they're saying that they're not getting paid for it, not from the Babbitt family anyway. So who is paying them? Oh, big secret. Spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington and the Justice Department Civil Division did not respond to requests for comment on Monday. The settlement comes after Trump returned to office, casting Babbitt as a martyr and seeking to rewrite the history of the assault on the Capitol as a heroic act of collective patriotism, with a lot of smashed glass for some reason. Not a violent effort to overturn the election or beat cops or gas them or any of those things. 5 people died in this peaceful thing or immediately after the violence, during which more than 140 officers were assaulted out of love. In 2023, then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy angered Trump, saying of the person who shot Babbitt, "I think the police officer did his job." Remember, they used to support police. But McCarthy was replaced that fall by Mike Johnson, who led a congressional effort to overturn in court the 2020 presidential results in 4 battleground states and who voted against certifying the Electoral College vote in 2 states. But this month in the Senate, Senator Tom Tillis helped sink the nomination of Ed Martin so that he would be installed in the DOJ elsewhere. A pro-Trump 2020 stopped the Steele planner to become U.S. Attorney for D.C. "We have to be very, very clear that what happened on January 6th was wrong," Tillis said. "It was not prompted or created by other people to put these people in trouble." That's a weird way of saying things, but okay. Babbitt, a 35-year-old California native and Air Force veteran, was fatally wounded in the shoulder at 2:44 p.m. while trying to climb through a smashed glass panel of the barricaded Speaker's lobby doors deep inside the Capitol, where rioters had reached a final security perimeter outside the House chamber. Last warning. The Justice Department found that there was insufficient evidence to prove Babbitt's civil rights had been violated, and that it was reasonable for the officer to have believed that he was firing in self-defense or in defense of fleeing lawmakers who were forced to evacuate from a session to certify Trump's 2020 election loss to Joe Biden. That was actually what was happening, so yeah, pretty reasonable. A Capitol Police investigation cleared the officer involved, saying his actions at the height of the riot potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death from a large crowd of rioters who forced their way into the U.S. Capitol and to the House chamber, where members and staff were steps away. Babbitt, who had a Trump flag draped around her neck, might as well have killed her, was the only Capitol rioter killed by police. In a statement in 2021, Trump said he had questioned why the officer who shot her was, quote, getting away with murder. It's an amazing thing for him to think about police. The family's lawsuit alleged that U.S. Capitol Police Lieutenant Michael Byrd was negligent in killing Babbitt, who was unarmed. It was maybe. It also claimed Babbitt had her hands in the air when she was shot. She was jumping through a window. Oh, please don't. Put your hands in the air. That doesn't mean you're surrendering. That means please don't shoot me so I can get close to you and disarm you. I don't know. Put your hands in the air and freeze. Those are the two things. Put your hands in the air and charge at me. I'm going to shoot you. That's different. Ashley posed no threat to the safety of anyone except for the whole smashed glass riot thing. The lawsuit stated, and did not go to Washington as part of a group or any other unlawful or nefarious purpose. So, that's not why I got here, but now what am I doing? The officer said he couldn't fully see her hands or what she was carrying in a backpack. He was aware of police radio reports that pipe bombs had been found on Capitol Hill, that officers were down, and that rioters were using weapons against them. Mark E. Schammel, a lawyer for Byrd, said Monday, consistent with the most recent ruling by the Supreme Court on the use of force by officers, Lieutenant Byrd did exactly what he was supposed to have done that day to protect the elected officials he was sworn to protect. U.S. Capitol Police Chief J. Thomas Manger sent a message to his department's officers earlier this month after hearing of the proposed settlement. "This is extremely disappointing, and I completely disagree with the Department of Justice's decision," he wrote. In 2021, the DOJ said that there was no evidence to show that law enforcement broke the law. But the new DOJ says, evidence schmevidence. After a thorough investigation, it was determined to be a justified shooting. The settlement sends a chilling message to law enforcement officers across our nation, especially those who have protective missions like ours, Manger wrote. On March 25th, Trump said in an interview with the conservative Newsmax cable outlet that he was considering whether to establish a compensation fund for pardoned rioters. Trump pardoned nearly all of about 1,600 people charged in the riot, including at least 379 charged with assaulting police or media members. Almost all of whom have been in trouble with the law since, by the way. Not almost all, but several. And probably almost all. And he granted clemency to 14 members of the far-right Proud Boys and Oath Keepers groups, most of whom were convicted of seditious conspiracy. Remember the unfortunate partner of the Alien Enemies Act. They keep reminding you, it's from the 1780s. If you remember anything about that stuff from high school American history, it was paired with the Sedition Act. The Alien and Sedition Acts, they were problematic. Who knew they would both be in play at the same time 250 years later? Not quite. But anyway, his administration has moved to fire prosecutors and identify FBI agents involved in the investigation and open investigations into their handling of the cases, and erase evidence and public statements about one of the largest criminal investigations in U.S. history from Justice Department websites. Isn't that something? But as long as we're reframing things, oh, they were patriots, it was a day of love, there's nothing wrong with this because the new DOJ says they love it, paying them compensation is what we really ought to be doing, and just reframing the entire way we consider these things. I thought I might try an experiment in reframing this stuff myself. Consider this, right? Ashley Babbitt, we know what she did, and she jumped through that. She crossed that final red line, right? Don't go any further. It's you'd be threatening the people I'm protecting. I'm worried about how you're invading this space. Well, isn't that a little harsh to be calling it an invasion? After all, what happened here is Ashley Babbitt, it's true, illegally, but Ashley Babbitt illegally crossed a border to escape political oppression, right? They're stealing the election from us. Really, Trump won. We're being politically oppressed in this country. So she illegally crossed the border to escape political oppression in the hopes, as Trump tells us, of securing a better future for herself and her future family and all fellow Americans, right? It's a legal border crossing, but it was a good purpose. She had to escape oppression, and she was trying to create a better future, a better life for herself. And she was brutally cut down by the border guards with no regard for her civil rights or due process. Rings no bells, of course, for these guys. And that kind of reframing is ridiculous, whereas their kind of reframing is awesome and true. So, I just thought that was kind of an interesting thought experiment. But the problem is that the guys, I'm trying to run it with, don't like doing thinking. So probably not going to get very far with them. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting development. Let's see. There are several others to share with you. And this one is a little speculative, and I don't know very much about the source here, but let's give this a try. Kyivinsider.com. I don't know anything about it. Ukraine, unfiltered, daily, they tell us. Who's writing it? Well, I guess I can give you a byline, right? No, I can't. There's no byline in this thing. So it seems a little weird and a little fishy. So it might not be wise to spend too much time on the story, but I think it looks like a short-ish entry. Let me just throw it out there as speculation because it's irresponsible not to speculate at this point. And if there's more reporting later, you'll be able to come back and say, oh, yeah, I knew back when we didn't trust the reporting that said this. FBI agent. I am an FBI agent. Who is it? Johnny Utah. Anyway, FBI agent goes public with Russian intelligence operation that hooked Musk and Thiel. Do you believe it? I don't know whether we should or we shouldn't. A May 14th piece, again, over at Kyivinsider.com. Is it a foreign influence operation to say so? Maybe. But let's see if anything develops from it. A former FBI special agent is currently out on a $100,000 bond after being arrested for attempting to expose what he described as a covert Russian intelligence campaign to gain influence over leading American tech figures, namely Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. You have to imagine at some point that the Russians would be interested in such a thing if they didn't already have such an operation in place. So it makes sense, I guess. But it does sound awfully, cloak and dagger, movie and dumb. But the agent, a decorated counterintelligence officer with nearly 2 decades of service, specialized in, well, this very same thing, Russian espionage operations, and had previously been commended for his work uncovering sleeper cells and disinformation networks operating in the U.S. It's very, cool and tactical sounding, but, to date, we've seen several of these examples bear out. We'll see whether this one does. According to legal filings and insider accounts, the agents became alarmed after obtaining intelligence suggesting that Russian military intelligence, the GRU in this case, had successfully cultivated relationships with high-profile Silicon Valley billionaires, not Ballivillionaires, though them too, using a combination of, and these are very successful tools for doing this, flattery, back-channel political access, and subtle compromat. Well, that's always a fun part of things. When his superiors allegedly refused to escalate the matter, he attempted to alert the public through unofficial channels. Unwise, if you're looking to get away with not being charged with it. That, an act that the Department of Justice quickly branded as an unlawful release of classified material. Whether it was or not, I don't know, but you were going to get those charges for sure. His arrest has sparked outrage among transparency advocates and national security experts alike, many of whom argue that suppressing such whistleblowing only serves to embolden the very foreign influence operations the FBI is meant to stop. But, of course, keep in mind, they no longer want to stop them. Kash Patel is in charge now. The case is particularly explosive because it coincides with growing scrutiny of Elon Musk's global dealings and political entanglements, that's for sure. As a recent ZDF documentary revealed, I don't know what ZDF is, but I guess they know it in Kiev, Musk has reportedly maintained direct communication with Russian President Vladimir Putin since at least 2022. U.S. lawmakers and intelligence officials are concerned that these discussions, whose contents remain classified, may extend beyond business and veer into geopolitical alignment, especially given Musk's control over key infrastructure like Starlink and the entire payment system of the United States Treasury at the same time. Kind of a dangerous combination. And that's not just an allegation. That's clearly happening. Oh, I was like, what kind of, am I hearing delivery guys at the door? I'm hearing dogs at the door, but I don't think they're bringing me anything. All right. Peter Thiel, also under scrutiny, it says here. Musk's domestic influence surged after his unprecedented $277 million donation to Trump's 2024 campaign, the largest individual political contribution in American history. Following Trump's victory, Musk was named head of the newly formed fake department, I would add, of government efficiency, you know about it, where he claimed to save the government $170 billion, but didn't. That story could follow, too. Investigations, however, revealed only about $12.4 billion in the end in verifiable savings, many from already scheduled contract expirations. There's a whole story behind that as well. You've likely heard a little bit about it along the way. Here, a excerpt from I don't know what, but it's marked as a excerpt, but no link is provided. I can't find one anyway. And it reads, the FBI agent's claims also mention Peter Thiel, the billionaire investor and early Trump supporter, as a figure of interest in Russian influence strategies, and I'm sure he would be. While no direct evidence has been released, Thiel's repeated involvement in foreign tech investments and libertarian policy influence raises questions about vulnerabilities within elite networks and signal chat groups, probably. The broader implication is that America's national security may be compromised. Oh, no, that can't happen. That's legit, may be compromised, and not just by foreign hackers or spies, but by unchecked alliances between tech billionaires and authoritarian states. Our political union with Russia to own the globalists, as they say. The arrest of the FBI agent, and I have not seen that story, has not silenced discussion, rather it has sharpened it, raising urgent questions about who holds power in modern democracies and whose interests they truly serve. Russia has ramped up its operations against the West, targeting France with different disinformation campaigns. So, lots of corroboration about the non-detailed details of this story that we've heard before. And I think it's relatively responsible speculation in that, these guys are doing international business on a scale that will bring them likely in contact with, if not Putin directly, although in some cases, yes, certainly his operatives. And, Starlink has already played, I think, a verified role in the Russia-Ukraine war. I think we're pretty sure about that stuff, and Starlink being turned off on the battlefield at critical moments to favor the Russian military over Ukrainian. And anybody walking around with $300 billion who thinks that they're not going to get contacted by Vladimir Putin looking to either get a piece of it or get some deal with that guy in exchange for more money is probably fooling themselves. Whether or not it is this deal remains to be seen. I just thought I'd put it on the record so we could keep an eye on these guys. So if any of you guys see some, Russian espionage, let me know. We'll try and stop it. All right. So let's see. We'll throw this one in here too. This seemed of interest too, as we saw Donald Trump in the last couple of days have a little trouble with numbers. And people were trying to, I guess, find the, that weird nugget of truth that sometimes exists in his weird exaggerations. He was talking about Biden's cancer diagnosis the other day, and what he ended up saying, I hear he has cancer and it's really stage 9. He has stage 9 cancer. How they missed stage 9 cancer all this time, I don't know. Going on and on. And yeah, of course, most of us are used to hearing cancer described in the stages. When they talk about stages 1 through 4, and at a 9, normally not part of the stage thing with cancer. And once again, Trump just basically saying, I want bigger numbers. How bad is his cancer? It's not stage 4, it's stage 9. And by the way, the math checks out. A stage 9 cancer is, or would be really, just stage 4 cancer, but with 145% tariff tacked on top of it. That brings you to about 9.8. It's a rounding error at that point. So what is that all about? Others rushing to point out, well, prostate cancer actually has not a stage 9, but a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of its aggressiveness and all sorts of things like that. It was really, I don't know what to tell you. They have such a scale. They do. And I don't know anything about it. I'm not an oncologist. I'm not going to try to pretend to be. You might be able to bail him out on that. And it may even be the case that they said, well, he has stage 4 cancer. And on this, is it a Gleason scale? I don't know. That's a joke that justices, it's the Jackie Gleason scale. He was a great golfer, Jackie Gleason, in his day. And anyway. But maybe he mixed it up. But I don't know whether he was a 9 on the Gleason scale or not. I got no idea. Anyway, he sounded very dumb saying it, as he always does when he runs into numbers and just starts blurting out whatever else. Like the other day, we're going to have a new fighter jet. It's going to be the F-55, not just the F-47, F-55, and it's super secret. Even the Air Force doesn't know about it, right? Stuff like that. We saved $100 bazillion with Dodgy. I made so many great deals, ding, 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 in the Middle East, and we're going to have $5 vingentillion in investment in the United States. He's very fast and loose with numbers all the time. And I forget a specific example that we did a couple of weeks ago in which he just, as he's going on, the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. It's $50 million. Or what was it? I can't even remember what he was claiming. 50 million, 100, 200 billion dollars is happening in this thing. So I was struck then by the headline and grabbed for sharing with you. Not that Pocket's going to let me do it. An entry from Public Notice by Paul Waldman. If Greg were here, he would say no relation. It doesn't matter whether Greg's here or not. There is no relation. His public notice, I think, is Aaron Rupar's newsletter, but he's got all kinds of cool people writing for him. Paul Waldman wrote this piece: Donald Trump and the power of the big (fake) number. Don't believe the hype about his quote. What word is in the quotes? Deals. Ding, ding, ding. I forget why we ding, ding, ding every time we say deals, but. Anyway, I made it up at the time, so I should remember it, but I don't remember what I did 10 minutes ago. If there's one thing Donald Trump loves more than a deal, ding, 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 there's nothing. Although nothing I can say on the air, but it probably involves body parts. But if there's one thing Donald Trump loves more than a deal, it's the announcement of a deal. That's true, because the announcement of the deal is a lot easier to do than the details actually nailing down a deal. He will announce a deal that he knows is going to fall apart. He'll announce a deal that doesn't exist. Nothing Donald Trump. I guess this really is, it does comport with my version of it was Trump loves nothing more than a launch party for a deal. Ding, 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 right? It doesn't matter whether he actually pulls the thing off or not. Oh, it looks like we're going to make it all the way through our next segment here. Well, let me tell you a little bit more because I'm already, now I want more time waiting for this washing machine. If there's one thing Trump loves more than a deal, it's in the announcement of a deal. The part where he comes before the cameras in triumph to tell the world that through his superhuman negotiating skills, he has secured an agreement that will bring a future of unfathomable riches to all Americans, except most of you. The announcements invariably center on a dollar figure, usually one almost preposterously large. 500 billion, 2 trillion, 10 trillion. We're all supposed to marvel at the majesty of this number to the point where our critical faculties fail us and we accept it without skepticism. There may never have been a better case study of this than Trump's recent trip to the Middle East. During the tour, Trump repeatedly touted the enormous deals, ding, 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 he supposedly obtained from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. But an examination of those and some other recent deals that he has announced, all portrayed as new investments pouring into the American economy, show them to be largely a mirage. Where are the marks? And the suspiciously large dollar number is the centerpiece of the con. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to read all the way through it, though I recommend that you spend your time, if you're waiting for your washing machine to be delivered, reading this piece. This goes over not only the history of his increasing exaggerations about the deals, but uncovering the reporting that we heard elsewhere and maybe mentioned in passage, that most of these deals, or several of these deals, were actually old deals negotiated by and settled by that Sleepy Joe guy, Joe Biden, who was obviously out of it and using an auto pen and something, and 10,000 other complaints, including Jake Tapper's. Anyway, what can I tell you? Time for us now to hand things over to Justice Putnam for the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. And boy, do I have so many messages coming up here. I can't tell if any of them are my notice for the damn washing machine. So let me tell you what Justice has on tap. He's more organized. He's going to make it all the way through his show. Trump's budget bill has created a legislative suicide pact for the MAGA House. And you know why. They just lied about everything. On the rest of the menu, the Pacific Northwest braces for, oh no, a tsunami and typhoon monitoring blackout. Okay, I thought two of them were coming. It's a blackout of the monitoring for tsunamis and typhoons. Also not a good thing. As Trump shuts agencies down all over the place. A bombshell email leak has exposed a Gabbard goon, you know who now, secretly ordering intel changes so it couldn't be, quote, used against Trump. That and much more, some of which I'll be able to sneak in after this message.
NetworksRadio.com. You have been listening to Kagro in the Morning with David Waldman.
Hey, look at this. The hacker who breached the signal chats used by Waltz and Hegseth intercepted messages from a broader swath of American officials than has previously been reported. Yikes. And over in Germany, police broke up a right-wing extremist group, another one that aimed to destabilize the country's democratic system by carrying out attacks on migrants. Can you believe it? See you tomorrow.